Good evening. Welcome to the Laughing Monkey Music Show. Today we have on Ed. Ed is from University Drive. How are you?
Good. How are you, man?
Good. You play rhythm guitar-ish and you're the vocal stylings
Yeah,
of
more
the
more or
band.
less. Yeah, I play rhythm guitar and I sing. And actually, at the moment, we're talking about dropping. I might be dropping the guitar and having the other guys just play. So I'm not
Really?
sure what's happening yet. So
How's that feel to you? Just because you're holding it, you have something in front of you. People like that. They get used to it. They're like, now you just got a microphone.
I've I think when I was a young kid, like I'm 35 now, but when I was 14 and just getting into music, I loved the idea of the guitar. But over the course of doing it for almost 20 years now, maybe more, it's like there's so much that I can't do
Mhm.
while because I have this thing attached to me no
Yeah.
matter what. So we've kind of been toying with the idea. We had a rehearsal last night where we tried me without a guitar and it went really, really well. So I don't know. It's just something new and different to kind of change things up.
It's not bad. I'm just curious because usually people are like, they switch back and forth.
Hmm.
It's hard. Even when I interview people, sometimes they're talking, they grab a guitar. It's like
Yeah, yeah,
a,
yeah.
you know,
I mean, it is weird. I've held a guitar in bands since I was 15. So to go without it now is a little strange, but I also love, I feel like I can give a lot more to the performance and just focus on singing.
mhm.
So I don't know. We're experimenting. It's a trial run.
But you guys are still, I mean, if you think about it, well, a newish band,
Hmm.
a young band.
Yeah.
You've like two albums out and then 2017, 2019, and then you've done a couple singles since then,
Hmm.
and you're
Hmm.
working towards a new
Towards a big
release,
record.
a
Yeah,
new
yeah.
release at some point. At some point.
Hmm.
Um, so as we were talking before, to break the fourth wall here, we were
Yeah.
talking and Scooter raved about you from Cold, and so I had to check you out. And I don't usually go hunting down people like this. So it's
Yeah.
kind of it was a good recommend from him,
Oh,
and
awesome.
and I want to share it with everybody else so people can check you out. And as usual, I put all the links and everything on the show.
Great.
Let's talk about the beginning of the band though, so people
Yeah.
are familiar with. Can you kind of share like what's and who the members are and stuff?
Yeah. So the band kind of it's evolved. I mean, it's like kind of a cliche answer, but the band started as one thing and it's kind of evolved into this other thing. When it first started, I have to like backtrack. I had a band that was called The Social State, and I was in that band for like, I don't know, 7 or 8 years, and it was four dudes, and they were unbelievable musicians, and we had um, an EP, two full lengths, and we were working on a third full length, and the band just kind of dissolved.
Really,
So yeah, so and we have a great scene, and or we had a really great scene in Scranton.
Pennsylvania.
Yeah, Scranton,
Okay.
Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania. So back then, it was things were great, but for some reason or other, the band just sort of imploded, and I kind of went through a period of about 2 or 3 months where I didn't play music or do anything for a while, and I always wanted to make a record on my own, like just kind of play all the instruments and
Mm-hmm.
kind of pretend I'm Dave Grohl, essentially. That's all I wanted to do since I was a child getting into music.
Right.
So I went and made this record with no real intentions of starting a band, but just to make a record. And the further along it got, these people started talking to me about possibly like, hey, you're going to do this stuff live. And all right, well, maybe I'll make it like a collective kind of thing where I'll put records out, and then if there's a show that's like an event, then I will get people just for that show or for those series of shows.
Feels like a lot of work to not have a commitment from people.
It was, but I've just always kind of thrown myself into making music and putting myself in strange situations of making and performing music.
Right.
Uh, but yeah, it was a lot of work in the beginning, and then slowly through kind of like process of elimination and people coming in and out, we kind of had a core group of people together for like towards the tail end of that first record. And then right when we were starting to write the second record, we had like the real band kind of come together, which
Yeah.
was me, at the time, because it's changed, but it was me, Angelo Marzelli, Steve Martin, and our old bass player John Osowski when we started writing and recording our second record, Clear. And that record, it just started off as songs, and then all the band, I lost my mom unexpectedly, and everybody in the band kind of had crazy shit going on. Like they were, people lost family members and breakups and whatnot. And then the record kind of took this weird turn into being about grief and loss, and a little bit about faith, and not really understanding, and not being sure about faith, and all those sorts of twists and turns. And we're just a little Scranton Wilkes-Barre band, so I had no preconceived notions about any of this stuff. I just do it because I love to do it. And when we put that second record out, that's how Scooter and I kind of got in touch through that record. He saw like promotion for it on Instagram, and then here we are in 2022, and we were just doing a national tour with them, and it's all so crazy.
That's pretty crazy, because some people focus really hard on it and they don't get anywhere, and you're like, you were putting 100% into it and you still lucked out.
Well, you know what it was in that other band that I was talking about, that first one I was in, I was like the epitome of like trying to make shit happen.
So trying so hard.
Yeah, trying. I mean, it was years. It was that band, another band, my first band, and just trying for years, the deal, sending the emails.
What kind of music were you playing in those and evolving to now? Because
it was
it's weirder nowadays. The genres are mixed more.
Yeah. I think my first band was more or less just my interpretation of Weezer songs, because especially the first couple records, I really do love Weezer. And it was just me basically trying to write Weezer songs.
Your newest single actually made me think of Weezer.
Yeah, that Execution song.
Exactly. I heard that. It's like, that sounds like an influence.
Oh,
in a good way too. It's not in a good way, because
Cool. Yeah, no, I appreciate that. Yeah, there are always, I think those first two records in specific, the Blue Album, Pinkerton, are always just a standard for me in the back of my head, even if I'm not even thinking about them. If I'm writing a song, I feel like there's a certain level, at least arrangement wise, that I need to hit, if that makes any sense. But yeah, the first band was kind of like Weezery. Then I was in this band with, actually my wife still plays in the band, Firewood Friends. I was in that band for a little bit, and they were more like the Arcade Fire or Margot and the Nuclear So-and-So's, just kind of like crazy experimental stuff, but pop songs at the core of everything. And then A Social State was more like, it's kind of like Saves the Day. I don't know if you ever got into Saves the Day, but they're more along the lines of, like pop punk, but like with Beatles melodies and stuff. And with this stuff, I don't know. I didn't really think about like a specific genre or a specific band. Just kind of, by the time I started writing a lot of these songs, it was just what it was, and it's kind of naturally evolved now.
I mean, because it's labeled on iTunes as alternative, but I don't know what alternative is anymore either.
Yeah,
the alternative to whatever's mainstream. I don't know. Right. But your newest song also doesn't sound like your other songs though too. So I mean, vocally, and there are big differences in your songs. So putting in a certain genre to compare you against anything. Yeah, I think it's the challenge.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's tough too, because like you said, like it's hard to wrap your head around like what is alternative, like even now, because so many artists are blanketed in such a broad term. I mean, everybody from, I've heard bands like Mumford and Sons called alternative. So like, but really? Yeah. I mean, I've heard it or seen it under that blanket before, so, but
catch all.
Yeah. I mean, but I guess I just associate alternative rock or alternative music with just emotional rock music, I guess.
Right. There's no wrong answer. I always, when I read it, I always think what the band thinks of the labeling, because they always have to label them. It doesn't change my opinion from any band, or I'll laugh sometimes like, I don't think it's that. But then I'm really loosey about what I consider titles or anything,
Yeah.
Even when in the Cold interview, to me, I'm like, I couldn't label them. I mean, it came out a
Right.
certain time period, but like I said, I think I said it was like they're like melancholy rock. It's like happy sad rock.
Yeah.
But that's not a label. I mean, it is, but now it is.
I
But
I would totally agree with that though, the melancholy rock thing. I think a lot of bands get swept up under that, like one specific thing. I think a lot of bands from that era were more like, like new rock was kind of like
yeah,
that, that blanket term. But, a band like the Deftones, I don't really hear them in that way. I hear
no.
them more as like a space atmospheric band that has big melodies, I don't even know. Like,
Yeah, I couldn't even, yeah, I wouldn't label them.
yeah.
And the kind of band you can't do really covers of their songs either to do it right.
Right.
There's some bands you just can't cover. That's one of the bands.
Absolutely.
That's the difference. You're not gonna go a Deftones cover band. I haven't heard one of those yet. They might be out there, but
it's funny actually. The tech on the Cold tour, he's a good friend of mine, Ryan Williams. I've known him for years, and he actually filled in on bass for us for 2 shows when our bassist had to fly home because his grandfather passed for some of the shows. Anyways, what's it called? He filled in for us, but back home, like, I don't know if it was a couple months earlier before the tour had happened, but he had a little a night, like a tribute to the Deftones. So there is a Deftones cover band out there somewhere.
I always see it'd be a tall order to fill.
Yeah.
Just to get their sounds right,
Oh, absolutely.
So because you've been the core member of the band, you've had a few people in and out, and it really started off as you writing. So are you the main writer and then you come in?
Sort of. Yeah, like in the beginning it was just all it was just me going in and playing all the instruments and writing songs and then finding people to play the parts. But on the Clear record, things started to evolve a little bit where, they're not all the songs, but there's like I think there's 12 or 13 songs on the record, and 2 or 3 of the songs just kind of came out of thin air between just us playing together, and that was like the first big step of co-writing, I guess, together. And on our new record, I took a lot of the, like, as far as playing the instruments, I ended up playing a lot of the instruments, as it's just kind of become a pattern as far as timing, like trying to make things happen quickly, if that makes any sense. But the bass player who came out with us in 2019, because our bass player couldn't do it, his name was Ryan Grutt. Now he's the full-time bass player of our band. And for this record, he kind of became a big, like, co-producer, co-arranger even, because he would come to the studio with me almost every session and, spitball ideas and play some guitar on stuff. And then that song Execution that you brought up, I wrote that song, but then I sent it to Angelo and he sent me like a whole different verse back. And it's just really awesome to finally have those sorts of things after years of not really ever having that,
Well, it's an interesting approach because as you know, a lot of bands have different dynamics to it. Sometimes it's one songwriter, the band breaks it big, and then everyone's like, oh, I want a part of the song because I want part of the royalties.
Right.
And then everybody kicks in, and usually the main songwriter is like, all right, that's fine. I want to keep this going. But all of a sudden the sound is not the same sound that was the hits.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So, or the other thing is just bands are accepting, like, we have one lead, we'll kick in, but that's their gig. And huge bands, it's always been like that. They don't really, they just realize that's the role that person plays. That's their vision. Or a lot of bands start off, they try to just evolve, like say, everybody brings in 3 or 4 songs,
Yeah.
That way, like the Aristocrats do that. Each get a couple songs, they bring them in, and then they pretty much have, because they're all multi-instrumental, so they can play all the parts, and then the other guys just kind of tweak it and put it together.
Yeah.
And it still sounds cohesive, because if you listen to the album, I couldn't tell you whose was whose.
Right. I think we're kind of moving into that. Like, it's been a slow moving into that, is because it's like those guys are like they're basically my best friends, the members of the band. And I think in the beginning, what I really love about Angelo and Ryan, who are the current, Angelo is the guitar player and the other singer, and Ryan plays bass. What I really love about them is from the beginning, they just really respected the source material, and at it there flourish, but like had just a respect for the material that sometimes I I've just had band members where that stuff doesn't really matter as much to them, you know, and they really want the songs to come out correctly. So I think through each record and through every song, like they've kind of figured or starting to figure out the way that I lean when I write a song. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of all coming together, if that makes any sense.
No, it does. And it's important if you have co-writers that want to write, mm-hmm. and it can work out in the band early on. So you guys can kind of divvy up the songs, even not even for switch royalties nowadays, but I'm saying divvy up because they'll have the interest of the band, you know, if they don't care, it's fine too. But you've seen enough of the behind the music and things in life that if the other songwriters are frustrated, mm-hmm. they either leave or they do solo projects, they have a good song, you don't get it. Or, you know, it just the bands just, you know, crash.
Right. Yeah, that's one of the big reasons I pushed for them to kind of, when we started this new record we're going to release, I was really pushing like, guys, send me anything. Like it's no ego. Like I just want whatever is the best.
But you still need somebody in charge to say, we can all write songs. Mm-hmm. Someone's got to say, no, that's crap.
Right. I think
there's got to be like a litmus test of like,
right.
What you built the bar of what you want it to be.
Right. I think, well, we were lucky enough because we had this producer, Paul Smith, another great friend of mine, but he was kind of keeping tabs on the, like, that song sucks or this song is so, you know, so at least we had that outsider, you know, who was listening and really pushing for great performances, but not afraid to tell us when, you know, we're stinking it up pretty bad. So
you were saying that there's a pretty good scene there, like how many, like a lot of clubs down there or what?
Well, you know, a couple of years ago, like 5 to 10 years ago, that it was, you know, more, I'm talking more like all ages, DIY kind of art space, you know, there were a lot of places, but, you know, as time kind of went on, a lot of the art spaces slowly closed down, but bands, me and my one friend always talk about this, but bands they'll make it fucking happen no matter what, you know, whether they're playing a VFW or if they're.
Of course. I was just curious. I've never really gone deep. Most of my experience down in Pennsylvania is usually the big country and the Amish land, the big area. Yeah. So to me, it's like, I don't know what it's reference from besides maybe you guys driving by in your van and yelling at the Amish and their little buggies, University Drive rules.
We do that too. But,
they're like, Jeremiah, whoa. You know, I really don't know like in the whole cities and the towns and like, you know, club scene down there. So I was just kind of interested.
Well, at least where we're generally from, Scranton, Wilkes-Barre, it's a lot of, you know, smaller bars and stuff. There's a great venue called the River Street Jazz Cafe that's in Plains, which is basically Wilkes-Barre, and that's a great venue. They have a lot of great bands come down through there, and there's a great all ages venue in Wilkes-Barre called Carl Hall that I'm actually playing there tomorrow with Angelo. We're doing like a little acoustic gig there. We're opening the show. It's not an acoustic gig. We're just opening it. But anyways, that's an amazing. It's literally a VFW that they just put a really badass sound system into. So people come in and congregate. It's a room solely for music. So it's really awesome. But there are a lot of cool places. There were a lot more a couple of years ago. And I think the pandemic really just like sadly fucked a lot of things up as far as, you know, just all that sort of momentum. But it seems like a lot more places are popping up. But as far as the bands and the artists around this area, I mean, I believe there's something in the water up here because everybody, I mean, I could just throw a rock and hit like an amazing songwriter, like left and right there, or an amazing drummer or piano player, what have you. They're fucking everywhere around here.
Really?
Like not just blowing smoke, like they're everywhere.
I believe you. No reason not to.
Yeah, I swear.
No. As you are a guitar player, is that are you initially working on songs from guitar? Is the melody? I always like to know the songwriting process for people because.
Yeah. It kind of depends. Most of the time, it's just a guitar and a vocal that I'm doing. I'll just play an acoustic guitar vocal and hit record on my phone or my DAW or whatever I'm doing it on, and just I'll just hit record and play and see if anything good happens. That's usually what I do. And if some sort of lyric or melody presents itself, then I just kind of chase that. I don't know if that makes any sense.
It does. Like, it's very interesting that how the process, and I always ask everybody, because everyone's got a different thing with their gear and their looks. You'd be surprised at the gauge of some strings that some people use.
Oh yeah. Yeah, totally.
Some pop guys like John Parr, he has the thickest like guitar strings, and he plays from St. Elmo's Fire, like you wouldn't expect that. But then some other people have the softest strings, like a ZZ Top type of thing, or another guy I know, every day he gets up and goes from like 8 to 12 into his little studio, and he just writes every day.
I love it, man.
And that's the time window. And some people are like, I write on tour, and some people are like, I don't work on anything on tour. I literally just focus, I get through the day.
Yeah.
And then some people just, it pops up to them. They got a lyric sheet by the bed and a guitar in every room, Oh
yeah, everybody's process is a little different. What I love though is what you said about the one guy. Like, I like people that almost approach it like a job. Like they have like, okay, I'm gonna go and I like guys that like chip away at it.
Yeah, he would shed the guy I'm talking about is Tisley Ellis.
Okay.
Very talented. Check. You don't know him. Very talented blues guitarist, singer for many years. And he's a good writer, so he's writing songs, so he's not just like making sounds.
Right.
Afterwards, he's like, everybody want to buy some songs? I got a ton of them because I do this every day. You know what I mean? So he has a lot of songs. So when the time comes, he can kind of figure what he wants.
Right. Yeah, I love that. I like when people kind of just really chip away and approach it like a craft, like as opposed to waiting for some muse or some magic to strike. Because I think it's like, at the end of the day, if you're not making the effort, at least once a day or once every other day to really try to catch the magic, you're not gonna capture it.
Right. And I think the other thing is it's not just taking 8 to 12 or whatever it is for anybody. Because a couple people said this to me, it's also turning off your devices.
Yeah.
Not doing any emails during this time.
Yeah.
It's literally dedicated time, probably with your guitar, your laptop, not going surfing, recording, or whatever device you're using. You know what I mean? And or it's an acoustic guitar and a piece of paper outside. But it's literally dedicated 100%, no distractions.
Absolutely.
And that's where I think you can't fail doing that, at least, because you're still getting some time in, because most people don't practice a guitar just this level anymore.
Oh yeah, and I think that's the only way, like, for it to be truly expressive too. Like if you have all your attention all over the place, like you need to truly be in it. It almost should be like it should have like some sort of meditative quality to it when it's happening.
Your daily ritual.
Yeah, for real. Yeah, that's how I think of it anyway. Yeah.
I would think that too, but I like years, always hearing people like, I can't just write a song. It takes me, a year to come up with 10 songs or something. And as time's gone on, and the older I've gotten, the more people I've spoken to, it's like more people are like, no, I can write a song. How good or working on it, where it goes with it, is another thing. We'll write an idea down and then we'll take it 5 years later.
Right.
So that's the thing with you. So if you're writing songs and then the band's writing songs, and it's finding the quality and the sound you guys want,
Oh yeah. I mean, when we started this record, this new one that we're working on, outside of the other guys, I had a lot of songs. I had 50 songs, like pre-production, completely like pre-production out before we even went in the studio, just so like, and I'm going to just explain the reason why really quickly. I did that because I had one experience years ago where I went to this unbelievable studio with an amazing producer, and I showed up, and I forever look back at this one record. I don't even want to say it because it's great, but I have my issues with it. But I forever look back at it, and I remember half of the record me loving and half of the record me like, it makes me cringe because I didn't have the songs. I just had what I had. I had the 10 I worked on up to that point, and I always look back at that like, fuck, I could have done that. I could have done better. So when we had this opportunity to go with a producer again, I remember like way in advance, I was like, there's no way, there's no possible way I'm going to go down there and regret this years later, like for not putting in the work of having enough songs. So I just kind of bolted up in my room, and it was right around when the pandemic happened. So, and I just wrote a ton of songs, and then all the guys were bringing parts too and songs too. So it was a lot of shit to sift through, but yeah.
So you're recording them basically your pre-production at your house, you have a little setup going on, I imagine.
Yeah, I just moved within the last couple months, so I don't have it currently set up, but I just have a little laptop set up with Reaper on it, and little interface, the Scarlett interface things. And I mean, I'm not super recording savvy, but I could do it well enough to where I could make demos that have the basic set to the song, you know, like the drums, bass, guitar, vocal harmonies, and vocals. And the way that we actually did that was I would do all those, and then we'd bring all those minus the drum track that I would kind of MIDI out, and we would bring that down the studio and kind of whip it into shape, you know, cut bridges, or, you know, oh, that the drum should be like this, or the bass shouldn't be doing this. We should switch this part. So a lot of great things, I think, to have in a little setup, you know.
It's and to add to that, I think with COVID, a lot of bands have been sending tracks back and forth, and that's good. It's actually allowed other people from their countries and other, you know, a lot of band members don't even live in the same state. Some band members don't even live in the same continent. I talked to.
Oh yeah,
like literally somebody in Venezuela and somebody over in, you know, in England, and then the drummer's over in Florida or something. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Try coordinating those for Zoom call for everybody different.
I can't imagine.
That was insane. But to that point, there's a certain level of where you can do everything, and you can do drum parts. When you record, you need, I myself feel you need to have a professional recorder to do the drum part, even if it's a separate studio, and then add it in. You can't do like your own version of doing the drums or electronic drums or something to go into it. Even the acoustic sounding ones, it's garbage.
Dude, you
need a real producer to do real drums. It's a real studio. Everything else you can ship in, but that's.
I agree wholeheartedly on that. And, you know, like you said, like recording technology has come a long way within especially the last like 15 years. It's like incredible what you can do now. And you can do pretty much everything else like anywhere, but you need a good room. You really need a good room, good drums, good performances, you know?
And I think you can kind of get with the vocals, but even good vocals, you're really getting into them, like power vocals, it's kind of better to be in a different environment too.
I agree. I agree with that.
You know, because there are some great albums out there, and I can tell that the drums were not live, you know.
Oh, yeah.
And I can't listen to it because production for me will ruin a song. It can be a great band, a good song, but just listening to it, it's awful. Like, you know, like in the 80s, a lot of bands were just overproduced.
Oh yeah.
There was a lot of good songs in there, but the album just felt like it was like a shellac over it, like you know, the sound wise. And it wasn't the band's fault either, because it's just the producers were doing their sound that they get sent to from the record labels, and the band's like, I came in here for this sound. Yeah, I was like a bluesy rock band. I come on now, it's so slick.
Yeah.
And then the fans turn on you because you're like, that's not what you sound like. They're like, this is not what we sound like. We have to listen to the label, right? You know, and then you ended that problem.
Yeah, such a weird time when all that was happening, and I see it mirrored a lot too these days.
Really?
Yeah, like as far as like the standards like for recording, because I really like, everyone has personal aesthetics, you know, things that they like, and I like some slicker sounding records. I like some records that just sound kind of like a fucking train wreck too, you know.
Right. Well, it depends on the music. I mean,
exactly.
Many times before, I have a recording degree, so I have my own opinion on what I like, what I don't like.
Right.
But I think you can do a lot with it. I learned analog, and I went back and learned on digital too. So you know, it was whatever. But some music is good slick, but not all of it. And the drums should always be live. Unless you're an electronic drum band, it's a style of music like dance or techno or industrial. Then that's the drums you need. So you know.
Yeah, no, I agree wholeheartedly with that. I just think I notice it a lot in modern produced albums, like across the board. There's just so many of the same like kick samples and same snare samples. And I understand a lot of that stuff, depending on how the records are made, like, or depending on what the intention is, like, it's hard to get away from those things sometimes, but I don't know, there's just something, like, again, maybe I'm coming at this just from my personal taste, but there's something so awesome about hearing, you know, somebody hit a snare drum and it reverberate in a room. You know, there's something so satisfying.
Absolutely. There's so many things you can do with a drum. You can even make it sound dead and flat, but a live dead and flat drum sounds different than an electronic drum. There's
absolutely
still a difference. And if you have a producer, it's going to sound much better because, you know, to make it sound good. And but you're in an interesting time being a younger band, like as far as distribution and not having to do a label. Like it's a new world.
Oh yeah.
These past 10 years, you know, you can go on Instagram, you can promote yourself. Yeah. It is kind of like the do it yourself type of atmosphere now.
Oh, totally. 100%.
I mean, you could actually do everything and then crowdfund it at Patreon and whatever. And then from there, you know, make your money back.
Yeah.
Find a distributor, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. That's kind of, it's for a while, I was very confused by how it all worked, as far as, you know, you get stuck in your rock and roll dreams from childhood of how it's all going to happen. But again, over the course, same thing with the recording technology, how much that has shifted and updated, like the way that albums are made and the way that they're presented to the world and the way that you manage a career now is so insanely different. You can do everything on your own completely.
Right. And you'll make more money. I mean, some of these bands that, you know, they have the lengthy careers are still around.
Yeah.
They've said they make more money now selling small amounts to themselves than they made being on these big labels and only.
I believe it. I believe it wholeheartedly. Absolutely.
And the other thing is you can, what you got, your mailing list, this and that, you can focus in on your audience and say, instead of worrying about trying to get thousands and thousands of people, you have a core audience of 1,000 people.
Right.
And you honor them with merchandise and this and that.
Yep.
A legion of 1,000 followers that support the band financially is going to pay off better than 10,000 people you're trying to hit all over.
Absolutely.
And that's been shown too. It's not like, but that was something you don't think about because, you know, at one point musicians weren't thinking about that. They just wanted the car, and later on they find out the label of the bank, it was the car, or their manager. It's actually the manager has all the money in the car. So it's held in his name, and you know, and they're
right. Yeah, that's something that we've all been talking about a lot too. Is you know, since when we first got on the 2019 tour with Cold, the Broken Human tour, and then getting to do the Black Sunday tour, we were just really talking about how we can how it can work if you really focus in on, like you said, on a core group of people, not trying for world domination, but just trying to make.
You can still grow organically stuff, but I mean, if you want to talk, Cold is just the easiest thing right now. When the Cold Army.
Oh, it's incredible, man.
That is a home run. That is perfectly set up because Scooter and the band love them, and the audience loves them back.
Yep.
You know.
Yep.
And that's what you want, to be connected with the fans, because they're like your friends, and they're listening to your music that they love, and you get the energy back, and they help support you so you can give back to them.
Absolutely. You know? It's amazing. It's amazing. I think it's the best way to go about it. And it's and I like the fact that there's no barriers anymore. You know, it makes things a lot easier to be personalized with the band.
There should be no barriers between fans. There should be no barriers to types of music. There should be a barrier at the salad bar though, because there should be like a salad bar barrier, but anywhere else there's still a barrier.
I agree with you. I agree. 100%.
That's my only barrier, I think, and I gotta live with that one myself.
I hear that.
But on a serious note, it is important, and I think, you know, the best thing you could do is just never sign away your stuff. You know, maybe a temporary thing for an area to license your stuff, but never, you know, that's the first thing I think any long-term musician would say: don't sign anything away to anybody. Keep it for himself.
Right. No, absolutely, totally agree with that. Yeah.
I mean, you wrote the songs. Why would you not want to keep them?
Right. I want to keep them.
That's what I'm saying. So
yeah,
that's, you know, the big thing. So at this point, as I said earlier, you're working on, you know, featuring album coming out, because obviously you have 2 full ones out, and you've been dripping out singles. Are you gonna do any more singles? And are these singles gonna be part of the album? Or are these just different?
No, they're going to be part of the record. Yeah, they're a part of the record, and I think we're going to put out one more I think we're gonna do just one more before we actually announce when the record's coming out, and when where we're gonna do our show and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, right now it's just we're kind of at a standstill because we're trying to select the next single, and there's a couple options in the air at the moment. So
well, it's interesting because you can do with digital downloads, you can, I mean,
mm-hmm.
There's no time limit. You can just have extra songs for the album that you're not going to do, and just release
Oh,
singles.
yeah.
So the summer,
Mm-hmm.
So the fans can dig it
Oh,
while they're waiting for an
absolutely.
album, and still have enough songs on the album where they're not like, well, I already heard 4 of these songs on the album. There's only 62 songs at this point. You know what I mean?
Right.
And meanwhile, you still have 50 songs waiting to put down.
That's what's funny is we were just talking about this, how we had the 50 pre-pro songs, and then we recorded 20 and picked 12. So we have these other songs that are almost fully recorded that would need little to no help, to just have stuff to put out, or have stuff to give out to the people who dig our band. So I think we're definitely gonna go down that route.
I think that'd be great. I mean, depending on how you release it, then put those songs with the summer. Like, don't take any of the good songs from the album, and then you can throw those bonus tracks on the album, or however you do it.
Right.
Those are out during the summer, but you still don't have your 10 or 12 core songs already. You're not touching those because that's the album.
Right.
These are all like, snacks and appetizers for the meal.
Right.
And then you still have a full bunch, because you can't ever have too many songs as a fan.
No. Speaking as a fan of many bands, I totally agree with that. I
love it. People are like, oh, you shouldn't do a double album. You shouldn't put out. I know it's 12 long, unless the songs are really droning. And then that's the forest of the trees. I'd be like, well, is it just too much of the same? Because some bands are like, an album should be only 35 minutes long, or 30, you know what I mean?
Right.
And there's some albums that like, wow, like a lot of Van Halen albums were like that.
Mm-hmm.
Later on, they went on, they were longer, and they were justifiably good too. But that was the old thought, to go in and out.
Yeah.
But it depends on your music, because I could listen to some bands hour and a half albums. I'd be happy. I'd be happy if every album was like that.
Yeah. I always, my favorite listening experiences seem to always be somewhere between the 35 and 45 minute, somewhere in between there, maybe 50 minutes here or there. But it's like, yeah, that seems to be the sweet spot. But like you said, dude, I mean, if it's a good record or a good double album or something, I'm in. I love records.
The only thing, like I told the records too, the only thing that makes me crazy is after, like, when an artist will do like a lot of talking parts, or like little, like it'd be like 10 tracks or whatever, and then they'll have like little pieces, interludes.
Yeah.
And after the first time you hear the album, like, then you just hear it, it's like it's like 30 seconds of garbage now before the next song. You know what I'm saying? Because you already heard it a million times. It's not really a song. It's just
right.
Because more like shtick. So you're like, oh.
Right. Totally.
But what are you gonna do about that? That's good. So the summer, you need, as we kind of get to the end of this week, can be any playing out at all, or
at the moment we're just planning the rolling out of the album, and we have 2 shows that are coming up besides the one that we're playing tomorrow. We have a show on July 8th that we're going to be playing the Debonair Music Hall, which was one of the places we played in New Jersey. One of the places we played on the Black Sunday tour. We're playing there July 8th. We're going to try to do something else in July. I don't know if it's going to happen. And then at the end of August, we're going to have a big hometown show for the album release. So
it feels weird though, like not touring during the summer when everybody's out touring now.
Yeah, I know. It feels weird to just come back and now we're not touring,
right. And it's opening up even more. I mean,
yeah. But we more or less, like, we're using a lot of the we made a lot of good friends out there, and a lot of nice connections and stuff. So I think our goal is to basically set up just some like week runs here and there, much shorter scale. But a week run here or there, 3 days here and there, back to a lot of the places that we just were. So not full out tours, but some little road gigs and week tours. So
that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So that's the end goal for you guys. Just keep getting bigger, keep releasing a slow natural growth.
I just, you know what, man, like I love doing this. Like, I love doing it. I'm going to do this until they put me in the ground. So any way that I can continue to do it, I'm thrilled. So if that entails, doing 3 road gigs or a show at my local bar, or playing with some of my friends' cover band to make a couple bucks, or whatever it is. You know?
I give so much credit to anybody that goes out and plays. Like, and say it's this, you know, some guys, you're like, oh, that old guy's been playing forever. He's playing at the bar for free, you know, whatever. I give him as much props as they give somebody walking into a stadium tour or something, because they're not getting all the great props. They're going home and probably got nothing. You know what I mean? They're literally doing it for the love of music.
Yeah, 100%, man.
And they're putting it out there no matter what. You know, they're not jaded enough to not be playing, because, you know, I'm not being taken care of, so I don't have my gold Cadillac. They're like, I love music and I'm going to play forever because I love music. Sure, you want to be successful, make money. So it makes it easier when you do your music stuff to not have to worry about money.
Right.
But that's just a fact of life, you know. It's better just something you liked and you don't. But this, I get much respect for that. Like, anybody plays any bands, whether it's cover bands or anything, total respect, because it's hard.
I look at it. I say this a lot. I think I probably, anybody who hears me say this is going to be like, shut up, stop saying this. But I feel like there was a point where, when I was talking about that one band I was in, that Social State band, I had a lot of expectations, and my heart was broken on a fucking weekly basis because I had such high expectations. And when I started this band, University Drive, I started with, I'm just doing it because I love it. I have zero expectations, but an open heart for anything that may come our way. And I've had that mindset the whole time while I've had this band, and the band has had this nice, slow little trajectory. So
here it comes about this whole subject. Shut up about it already. No, no, just kidding. You're right. And actually, the couldn't resist.
That was good.
The actual part of it is like, it's like, you know, like you're like in school and you're trying to, like, you know, get with somebody, like date somebody or whatever. And then you always like try and date people and whatever. And you're always trying so hard, like, you get the newest styles and whatever. And also you're like, you know, I don't care anymore. And those are the ones, the uninterested people are the ones that, like, everyone wants to date you.
It's the truth.
You don't care.
Yeah, it's the truth.
Unless you care, the more people care.
I really believe, I think, I can't remember who said it. Maybe it was Josh Homme from Queens of the Stone Age. Somebody said, if you expect anything from music, you expect too much. And I just love that. I think it's such a great quote. Like, the only thing you should expect from it is like it to be the, you know, the friend it's always been, that the record, the thing that, the reason you got into it. And for me, it's proved so true ever since starting this. So I do it because I love it, and literally everything else is gravy, but I'm open to all the good things. I just, you know, right.
I mean, because there's nothing wrong with being successful. I mean,
right.
And there's, you know, and that's the worst thing, I think, when people are like, oh, I heard this song, and I'm actually going to Led Zeppelin. Do you remember when there was commercial? I think they licensed it, because no one's selling their songs, right? But there's a point when Led Zeppelin licensed like rock and roll or something. It was like a car commercial for, I don't know, like an Audi, whatever it was.
Yeah.
You know, I'm sure people out on the internet could correct me, and you know what? Don't really care.
Right.
Point is, they took one of their songs, licensed it for a car thing, and then they were a sellout to people. You got to roll that back a little bit. They took one of their songs and sold to another business, just like buying an album.
Yeah.
How's that selling out? The minute you record your stuff and somebody else buys it, then you're helping them. Then you're right. They're selling out by making music, you know? You're not Mumford & Sons playing on the street corners or something. It's once you get into a music business, you know, and maybe they like that car. Maybe they, you know what I mean?
Right.
There had to be some reason why they would do that. I mean, need of money. I mean,
sure. I mean, I think all that stuff is for the artist to decide solely. And I mean, like, at the end of the day, it's like, I don't know, all that stuff.
It's hard for an artist, though.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, step on you. It's hard because they'll hear, like, if we put the money out here, if we get a song on a soundtrack, that's some good cash.
Yeah.
And you know what? You need cash to live. And if you can live nicer, you get better recording stuff. You can buy an extra guitar, you get extra recording time. You can live in a house that it's not going to be taken away, and you can relax about that, not worry about that, and you can focus on a song.
Yeah. Yeah.
So good for you. I mean, you know, you should be able to sell whatever you want. It's no one's business. But the artists, sometimes I've heard artists say that, you know, I don't want to be a sellout, or I did a cover of this for some bucks. It's so what? Right. It's no difference than everybody else goes to work every single day.
Right. It's the same. At the end of the day, I think all that stuff is like, I feel like everybody wants those things, but they're just afraid to say those things, you know, like it's okay to, I mean, I hope somebody wants one of our songs to put in a soundtrack.
And you should, and it's,
you know?
Yeah. And the thing is, I'm like, are people like, oh, that band, what's ever happened to them? They're like a one-hit wonder. Well, I'm like, well, they've had like 5 albums out, and just because America top 40 radio is so picky every 3 minutes later, full of Instagram players, in Europe, they're making a killing.
Yeah.
And they're successfully writing albums as good or better than they already did. So there's one album, you know, if you have one song that you're known for, that's a compliment. Because there's a lot of bands that do not have known for one song. You know what I mean? No. Generations wide, my kids know these songs, these one-hit wonders. That's quite a thing to do.
Oh, absolutely. I all that stuff, even, you know, one-hit wonders. But I just think if you have the ability to write a song that can connect with millions of people, like or thousands or hundreds, like that's a win. And no way you cut, like any way that you cut that is a complete win. You did the thing, whether it's in a car commercial or a movie or on your local radio station. If you did that is a fucking win. Like that's the way, man.
I agree. I support it. That's why I always say to artists and new artists, I'm like, you just do whatever. And you know, and fans to say that makes me crazy. It's like, go to their job, say you're in a warehouse. Do you have any home runs there that everyone still talks about 5 years later? Something you did real good at work one day?
No, definitely.
That time with the forklift in the box, we're still talking about that. Remember that box that was felling somebody, you stopped it?
Oh, yeah,
you know,
totally.
But to have that is great. And I think a lot of the old time artists, they dig it. They're like, yeah, it still pays for my house. I can still do music. And because the market goes crazy. It's not a guarantee. It's not you know, a scale.
Yeah, especially with how different everything is now too. You know, that's like, you know, before there were huge sums of money being tossed around, and now like even though it's a lot, it
wasn't even your money, you had to pay it back too.
Right, exactly. But you know, at least that option is there, you know, like the fact that you can get a song in a commercial and it could potentially change everything.
I think you guys will explode in Europe when you can get on the road in Europe. I think it's a slow burn here in the US because the US is kind of picky.
Yeah.
You know, you go to a guitar show and everyone's like this in the back.
Oh yeah.
It's more show me, improve me. You like to really wear the fans down. And not all fans might say, but if you're somebody that actually goes to the clubs and sees club shows a lot, it's a challenge for a new band to come on and open up for somebody else because they don't care.
Oh, for sure.
Europe, and over in all those countries over there, just dedication. You get that behind there. There are bands that still survive off just Germany alone.
Right.
They're from the 80s. You know?
Yeah. I would love to do that. I mean, we'll have to cross that bridge when we hopefully come to it, but I would love to do that.
You get loyalty in Europe, that will keep your career going.
Yeah.
It saved all the rock bands over there once the grunge came along.
Yeah.
Europe kept with them, and they could completely keep their lifestyle up and just fly over in Europe.
Right. I'm down.
Yeah, right. You especially get like South America or Brazil or something, in Germany. They're huge loyal followers.
Oh, that's for sure. Definitely.
So that's good. I mean, I just want to have a short thing and have you on today and kind of introduce you to my audience. You know,
I appreciate this so much, dude. Seriously means a lot to me.
I'm glad you come on. I do feel strong about your music. It's a short period. I don't usually do that. Here's I go, oh, I got to say something, you know. I'll have you back again when you have your album out. We'll promote your album. Okay.
Yeah, that would be great. I mean, anytime you want, let me know.
Yeah, we'll talk about the album and break it down, the songs and stuff. And you know, it's very cerebral. Fans really seem to dig going to the albums and going back. I do that a lot, and a lot of artists are like, I've had this album for 12 years for other artists. You know what I mean? Like I'm doing, and they're like, I go back, I didn't even hear that before. Oh, people are always going back, you know, a series of them. So it's a total fun thing to do. So
I love it.
Awesome. I want to thank you for being on the show, man.
Thank you for having me, and I look forward to the next time I hopefully get to be on.